think, believe me, these niggas doubted me. Look what I'm becoming. What I did, it made a man of me. All the that I did, I swear.
What it do, YouTube? It's Ty Fetty with the Fetty. Back at y'all another video, man. Y'all know why we here. To handle business. But before we handle that business, bro, look, y'all. I just always want to tell y'all, let y'all know, bro, I appreciate y'all. I appreciate everything y'all do for me. I appreciate the DMs. I appreciate the suggestions. I appreciate the comments. I appreciate when somebody try to go in my comments and troll. Y'all get on their ass for me, bro. I appreciate it all, bro. No cap, bro. And I'm here for y'all, bro. Y'all got any questions, bro? Ask me, bro. Y'all got any concerns, bro? Let me know, bro. I got y'all forever. Make sure y'all like, comment, and subscribe, bro. If you've been here for a little minute here and you ain't subscribed, bro, check right now. Make sure you subscribe, bro. Feel me? We about to really turn this up a couple more notches, bro. I'm about to really hop in a different type bag for y'all, bro. I'm gonna say it again. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, bro. I'm gonna say it one more. Matter of fact, like, comment, subscribe. Before I gotta beat you up, y'all know what's going on, man. Look, I'm gonna let y'all know right now. Video gonna be long. We got Swamp Stories. Y'all know he gonna always put out them bangers, that heat. And we gonna ride that wave, bro. I rock with Swamp Stories, bro. Keep doing your thing, Swamp Stories. If you ever seen this. Look, y'all, I don't know how. Funa seen my video. Y'all know I react to Funa. They seen my video, commented. Made my day. I ain't gonna lie. They way bigger than me. I just want to show respect, bro. And, you know, keep everybody get some money, man. That's all I want to do. We got the most dangerous Asian Crips, how they took over the DMV and ran up millions. Now look, I'm from the DMV. We don't got no gangs. I'm gonna let y'all know that right now. We don't have no gangs. So we about to see what this joint talking about. I haven't watched it. I saved it for y'all. So let's get it, man. Let's see what they talking about.
Welcome back to another episode of Swamp Stories.
Thank you for having me.
In this video, we cover an unexpected story. A group of wild suburban teenagers who got together and ended up creating one of the wildest crews in the DMV. But before we get into it, make sure to leave a like.
Again, we don't have no gangs, bro. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. I don't know where they were at.
Let's get into it. Welcome to the DMV. And no, not the Department of Motor Vehicles, but the area where DC, Virginia, and Maryland intersect. For those who are unfamiliar, the DMV is one of the wealthiest regions in all of America. In fact, prior to the Silicon Valley tech boom, it had the highest per capita income in the United States. But despite all of this wealth, the city of Washington, DC has been one of the most dangerous cities in the country for the last 20 years.
And this is like my proof to y'all. I always tell y'all, bro, our suburbs here is a little different, bro. Like, you might got somebody who folks making well over $100,000 and they'll still shoot your face off, bro. No cap, bro. We just stand on different like, the money don't really mean nothing, bro. Now it means a part of how you grew up, the level of desperation you got to eat, to, you know, how to eat. But it don't matter, bro, because you got, just like it's the wealthy, bro, it's just like it's people that's living good, it's another side. Y'all know that, like in every city, it's another side. And them niggas are gonna try to get on your ass if you got something they want, bro. All you gotta do is defend yourself. If you don't defend yourself, it's gonna keep happening, bro. One day you're gonna have to stand up for yourself and stand on what you stand on.
On top of this, much of the city is run down, abandoned, and filled with street activities. However, this is not where the story takes place, not even remotely the same world. In fact, the story takes place in one of the richest and safest suburbs in the whole United States. Across the river from DC, you have Fairfax County, Virginia, a suburban and wealthy area known for great schools. The median income of $133,000 is higher than the Bay Area's prestigious Marin County.
Now, I will say this, though. Fairfax ain't really the DMV, bro. Like, Fairfax kind of far, bro. No cap. Fairfax that's where we don't go because they don't play out there. Like, you going 10 miles over the speed limit, you're getting pulled over, bro. You might steal a bag of chips, you're going to jail, bro. They do not play in that Commonwealth. We don't even cross that bridge unless we're going to Tyson's to go to the mall, bro. That's it. That's all. Fairfax not really the DMV. It's the DMV though, cause it's Northern Virginia, but it ain't really. We ain't jacking them, bro. Just like Nah, bro, we ain't jacking
Not
out.
only do they make more money here, but the average home sells for just $590,000. Because of this, families can afford to buy a massive house, a fancy car, and provide an amazing life. Not to mention that residents can feel safe with a homicide rate of just 1 per 100,000. For a population of over a million, this is the lowest rate ever recorded in American history. Well, despite all of these great attributes, Fairfax County is still not a perfect place. In fact, since the mid-1990s, it's been home to some wild street organizations. It all began in 1995 when California's infamous Tiny Rascals came to the area. Just like Long Beach where TRG originated, Fairfax County was one of the areas to accept many Cambodian and Vietnamese refugees. So naturally, many of the TRG members in Long Beach had family living in Northern Virginia. Because the environments were so drastically different, the Cambodians in Long Beach were forced to live a different life. They had to watch their backs and protect themselves at all times, which the Virginia families just simply didn't have to do. However, once the Tiny Rascals got more involved with the money side of the streets, naturally their family in Virginia wanted to be a part of this too. So throughout the 1990s, when the families would visit each other, the LA street culture spread to the streets of Virginia. By 1998, TRG had a full-blown set operating in Fairfax, Virginia. And not too long after this, another group of teenagers followed in their footsteps. In 1999, a crew of Vietnamese teenagers formed the Asian Dragon family, also known as ADF. In many historical cases, their formation would have started a beef, but thankfully this was not the case. In fact, ADF and TRG locked in right away and became each other's closest ally. Together, their goal was to get money and defend each other when need be. And other than a handful of cases, both sections were relatively peaceful, thus why Fairfax had such a low crime rate. As a result, the police never looked into their operations and they remained under the radar. But then everything changed around 2011 when three wild young men got together and started their own crew. First was Richard Pack, also known as Teddy. Teddy was a local born and raised and had been part of a crew called the Korean Dragon Crew. Next would be Joseph Lamborn, also known as Trigga, a wild young teenager from the Fairfax area. And finally you have Tony Lee, a Southern California native who had moved to Virginia in the recent months. Tony was an associate of the infamous Long Beach Asian Boys, the bitter rivals of TRG. The three men named themselves the Reckless Tigers and their goal was to take over the DMV market and instill fear in anyone who got in their way. Well, just like his Long Beach associates, Tony Lee was aggressive and led the Tigers to their first bag on September 3rd, 2012. On this day, Tony Lee met up with an ADF member to complete an $11,000 deal. Tony went to their house, handed over the bag, and ADF handed him a duffel bag full of product. They then shook hands and Tony went home. There, he opened the bag and realized that everything was grass clippings. The ADF members thought that he was some square who they could finesse. Little did they know, Tony Lee was a Long Beach veteran who nobody should mess with.
Bro, imagine you go get somebody a bag, like real life. 11K is a bag. You try and put something in motion, you right? You cool, everything straight. You get back to the crib and it's real life. Grass in that joint. Boy! Man, yeah, I like it ain't even the fact that you scared to go retaliate, bro, but your heart is gonna be in your stomach, bro. Like, these niggas really just tried me, bro. But that's grass is crazy.
They made a massive mistake by crossing him and allowing him to know where they live. From this moment, Tony made it his mission to send a message to ADF to show them what the Reckless Tigers are all about. So later that night at 10 p.m., Tony would return to the same house on Victoria Road. He and an associate would get out of the car, spray paint, and vandalize the house. This was his official warning, but ADF brushed it off and figured that it wasn't worth their time. This bothered Tony, so 2 weeks later, he would send Reckless Tigers members to the ADF house. September 15th, 2012. This time, the Reckless Tigers members arrived to the residence with a bin full of baseballs. They chucked them into the home's windows and shatter everything. Still though, ADF would not respond. Tony Lee was not the type to forget someone crossing him, however he knew that he would have time later on. In the meantime, he wanted to stack his money, and to do this he contacted his friends from Long Beach. He told ABZ about the Tigers and their plans to take over the DMV market. The Long Beach and Orange County members approved and wanted to be a part of this. So over the course of the summer 2012, ABZ and Reckless Tigers members built a relationship. Tony would bring his Tiger associates to Long Beach and he would bring his ABZ associates to Virginia. The relationship got so strong that ABZ gave Tony access to their farm in Hayfork, California. And I'm not talking about horses and chickens. If you know anything about Humboldt County, then you know what I'm talking about.
They got that gas. Look. If y'all smoke weed, y'all, I guarantee you, your plug gets weed from his plug, and his plug gets it from Humboldt County, bro. If weed is coming out of California, it's coming from Humboldt, bro. That's all it is out there, bro. I don't know if y'all ever seen the movie Ted, and y'all remember when Ted and was Mark Wahlberg drove and they crashed into all the weed. That's literally what it's like out there, bro. No cap.
So as a result, Tigers members would drive back and forth from Northern California back to Virginia. And once the business got rolling, Tony Lee figured that it was the perfect time to get revenge on ADF. So all the way from California, Tony alerted his Virginia members that they better make a demonstration to gain respect. September 17th, 2013.
That's a whole year later.
End of
Get Back don't got no time, no bap.
summer night in Centerville, Virginia. On this night, a group of ADF members are hanging out at a pool hall. Somehow, Joseph Lamborn and two associates get word of this. So at 8 p.m., they get in their car and head out to Centerville. Joseph storms into the pool hall with a metal bat and pounces on one of the ADF members. The ADF man was injured, but thankfully he would end up being okay. Still though, ADF nor TRG would respond to the Reckless Tigers. So this is when the leaders knew that it was time to start recruiting members. So for 2013 and 2014, they spent a lot of time adding members to the roster. One of the men they selected was Sasha Carlisle, who they chose to drive back and forth from California. Another was Young Yu, a man who was given the same role along with being an enforcer. Then they recruited a former ADF member named Cinco. Cinco actually turned his back on ADF after they backdoored his uncle. Then next would be a younger relative of Tony Lee. This would be a young man named Peter Lee, also known as Savage. And just like his nickname would suggest, Peter Lee was not somebody you wanted to mess with. He was fierce and never scared to take things way too far. Despite being new to the Reckless Tigers, Peter was eager to put in work. March 17th, 2015. It's a Tuesday evening in the small city of Lorton, Virginia.
Like, all this is what they talk. Like, all it, Lorton, Centerville, all this is like Virginia, bro. It's like 50 minutes from where I stay at, bro. Like, nobody goes out there, bro. Like, there's nothing in Lorton, bro. That's where the white people at. Where I'm from, it's way more black people than white people. Out there, it is majority white people, bro. That's just the difference. And like, I'm just showing y'all the difference. And feel me? Like, it's still the DMV to an extent. It's pushing it though. Like, it's really on the edge. Like, my right here, Woodbridge. My brother stay in Woodbridge, bro. That shit is, you pushing it, bro. You're pushing it, bro. You could bang it, bro. Cause I ain't gonna lie, the Woodbridge, they got the females up that joint. Every female in Woodbridge, bro, majority of them is half white, half black with great hair, and they gonna take care of your ass. But besides that, bro, you're not going to Woodbridge or Lorton, bro. It's too far.
Here, a couple of ADF members are at a restaurant eating dinner. Somehow, Peter Lee gets word of their location and drives instantly from his Dunloring apartment. He double parks in front of the restaurant and storms in with his metal bat. He looks around until he spots the members, and that's when he sprints their way with the metal bat. After jumping on top of them, the staff pull him away. While being pulled away from the restaurant, he screams "Reckless Tigers." This was a bold move and exactly the opposite of what the leaders wanted.
And look, this is the difference between Virginia, like I said, like they pushing it, and like Maryland and DC, bro. Nobody from here, I don't care if it's 2015, 2014, 2013, now. Nobody's pushing up on nobody with no bat, bro. You try to push up one of your ops with a bat down here, they gonna send your ass back to where you came from. They gonna send you back to your maker. Ain't no bats, bro. What? Bro, if somebody try to push up on somebody out here with a bat, bro, they'll laugh their ass out, bro. Ain't no bat play. We're not using no bats. What is this, Grand Theft Auto? We're not playing baseball. That's the difference between VA and Maryland and DC, bro. Don't get it twisted, bro, because now it is a couple spots in VA that, on my mother, they get active. Like Chicago, like not as far as the amount, like it's not as big as Chicago. It's not as much murders as Chicago, but it's a couple niggas in VA that you could drop in the middle of Chicago and they gonna be scraped. I'm telling y'all, no cap.
By this time, they were making so much money that having their name out there was probably not a good idea. Regardless, this is just how Peter Lee was when his emotions were running high. And as you would expect, his wild ways would continue into the next year. By 2016, Peter was no longer just an enforcer. He had worked his way into the money side as well, as he was chosen to make his own deals. And that takes us to January 8th, 2016. On this day, Peter is set to meet a new client in Springfield, Virginia. So at 10 p.m., he drives out to the location they set. The two men meet up at 10:30 to go through with their deal. But for whatever reason, Peter Lee's brain keeps telling him it's a setup. So he walks to his trunk, pulls out his metal bat, and yep, you know the rest. Thankfully, the man was okay, but this was too far even for the reckless Tigers. These kinds of acts could seriously get in the way of their million-dollar operation, but sadly, this would not be the worst of 2016. Over the first few months of 2016, ABZ and the Tigers plan to throw a major house party to celebrate their success. So Young Yu books a large Airbnb in the city of Herndon, Virginia for the night of April 23rd. During the days before the party, a bunch of Long Beach ABZ members fly across the country. The main reason for the gathering is to celebrate that the Reckless Tigers are now a part of ABZ, known as the Tigerside Crips. Well, everyone is excited for the party, and now all they need is ladies to fill it up. So to do this, they pass out flyers at George Mason University.
Fairfax is where George Mason at, bro. If you don't know George Mason, bro, it's a school. They eye their basketball, bro. They know for basketball. And they party their ass off, bro. They party their asses off out there. It's a predominantly white college. It's a PWI. They party, bro. And if you want to have something off campus and like on some house party, go to George Mason, bro. I guarantee you, they all gonna come and they gonna have 4 locals and jewels in their hand, and vapes, bro. And they gonna everything that you want a party to be, they gonna make it, bro. I guarantee it.
The nearest college to the party.
For
so
sure.
As word gets around, the Tigers party quickly becomes the place that everyone is going on Saturday night. So the night comes around, April 23rd, 2016. Dozens of Tigers and ABZ members are in the party having drinks and a great time. At 11 p.m., groups of college students began rolling in, having no idea what they're getting themselves into. By midnight, the party is packed with George Mason students, and for whatever reason, arguments start. Particularly an engineering senior named Ho-Sung Lee is being pressed by the Tigers members, and sadly, 15 members would pounce on him in front of his friends. Unfortunately, the members would take it too far and Steven wouldn't make it. For whatever reason, his friends would pick him up, put him in their car, and drive him to his parents' house. There, somehow they would get in and place him in his bed. All of this would be blurry and confusing until years later when police would figure it out. In the meantime, this would be one of the strangest stories in Virginia history, with so many questions to be asked.
That's crazy,
First
bro.
of all, how did engineering students end up at this kind of party? Secondly, how does an argument start between Reckless Tigers members and a college student? And lastly, how did he end up in his bed, and why did no one call 911 at the party? The night was wrong on so many levels and truly devastating to the Fairfax community. The members got away with this, but they knew that they needed to move differently. So for the Tigers, everything was calm in the summer of 2016, and they wanted to remain that way. But then in the fall, Tony would receive shocking news from back in Virginia. In late October, Tony would receive a call from a fellow member that he saw his girlfriend having an affair with another man. Tony Lee was definitely pissed, and he wanted to send a message to the man. So over the next few days, the members in Virginia had to find out who the man was, and they had to make a demonstration. After finding his address, the Tiger members are set to send their message. November 1st, 2016. It's a random Tuesday at 2 p.m. and the Tigers members pull up to the man's house. And with bottles, gasoline, and lighters, they throw their concoction into the windows. The house is set to flames, but thankfully no one is there. For whatever reason, after this moment, the Reckless Tigers fell in love with this process. Tony Lee now wanted to use this strategy against all of his enemies, and the first person on his list was the ADF member who finessed him back in 2012. December 1st, 2016, Peter Lee gets a call from Tony directing him to the good old Victoria Road. He directs him to look for an Acura TLX parked on the street. So at 11 p.m., Peter drives out to Victoria Road and finds the car in a driveway. Just like that, the car is toast. Tony was feeling untouchable as he was back in California telling his Virginia members to do whatever he wanted. At this point, he was just having fun with it, and that takes us to February 10th, 2017.
This is some Virginia
Tony
shit,
Lee
bro. No cap.
spontaneously calls Peter and tells him to make another visit to
No cap.
Victoria Road. So like always, Peter instantly heads over and vandalizes the ADF home. Okay, this was enough. ADF and TRG began getting annoyed and it was time to prove a point. We still run this town, and that takes us to April 16th, 2017. Tony Lee flies to Virginia for the weekend and suggests that all of the Tigers get together and go out to the club. So at 9 p.m., Tony, Peter, Sang, Joseph, and Young Yu all get together. After hanging out for an hour, the members head out to the ARA nightclub in Annandale. They all get drinks, throw money, and are having the time of their lives. Well, little do they know the rivals have been following them since Tony got home. So at 1 a.m., the rival members storm in the club looking for the Tigers. They spot them in a private section in the corner and they sprint over with their fist balled up. The DJ stops the music and turns the lights on as the two crews are in a full brawl. Then an unidentified ADF member takes things to the next level.
That's
Everyone
like,
sprints out of the door and speeds away.
like that's what I'm saying. Like baseball bats and Molotovs, bro. That's not normal. Like I don't know what was up with them, bro. I don't know what was going through their brain. This is not what this is out here. Like I don't know. Like maybe they thought I don't know. I don't know, bro. Like it was bound to happen, bro. They kept sliding. They bringing knives to gunfights, bro. Like this is some VA. Like you would never see no story like this over the bridge, Maryland or DC, bro. No cap. Baltimore, none of that. Like this is strictly Virginia, Northern Virginia. Like that's crazy.
Thankfully, no one was hurt, but this was a close call for the Reckless Tigers. The beef was on, and the Reckless Tigers were destined to get back at their bitter rivals. So the next day, the Tigers would go looking for them all around Fairfax County. They knew that they could find them at a club. It was just a matter of which one. After an hour of searching, the Tigers would find the ADF members at an infamous club called The Block. So at 12:45 a.m., Tony, Peter, and Sang run in the club. They bust through the door with vengeance on their mind, and that's where they see the rivals. And without hesitation, bam! Thankfully, the Reckless Tigers pulled a Game 6 Klay Thompson and everyone was okay. After this risky incident, Tony Lee returned to California and directed Peter to focus on business. So over the course of the next year, Peter would focus on stacking money. It got to the point where he decided to stash over $100,000 in bank accounts. Because transactions of $10,000 or more will be reported to the IRS, he decided to open 12 different Wells Fargo bank accounts. And during the month of January 2018, he deposited $9,999 in each account. According to the law, this doesn't warrant an investigation,
Facts.
but after a while, the banks will raise their eyebrows.
Of course.
But in the meantime, Peter Lee wasn't stressing it as he was stacking up $4,000 a day. With this money, he was able to get himself a big nice apartment in the wealthy Dunloring, Virginia. This became the Reckless Tigers distribution center and also where they stashed their money. After all these years of recklessness, the Tigers still face no investigations. But then Peter Lee would make the mistake of a lifetime. June 18th, 2018. It's a typical day in the life of Peter Lee as he gets ready to meet with a new client in Annandale, Virginia. So Peter Lee heads to the man's house to complete the transaction. They talk for 15 minutes and end up going through with the deal. Well, little does Peter know the man is a federal informant wearing a wire. Investigators easily could have arrested Peter right away and sent him to jail, but instead they decided to play the long game and see how much information they could get. So from this,
That's VA for your ass. That is Virginia for you. Man.
Moment on, the FBI was tracking Peter Lee's every move, and while he was doing business with an informant, his fellow member Young Yu was doing business with a snake. This would be a man named Brandon White from Falls Church, Virginia. In June of 2018, Young Yu met with Brandon White to complete an $8,000 transaction. During the deal, Brandon told him that he didn't currently have the cash, but that he would pay him back in the coming weeks. Usually, Tigers members were advised not to do this, but for whatever reason, Young Yu decided to accept it. Well, 1, 2, 3, and 4 weeks go by after the deal, and Young Yu gets no word from Brandon White. So he calls him up and asks him what's the deal and where's my money. Brandon tells him to be patient and that it's on its way. But then another month goes by and no word from Brandon. So finally, Young Yu has had enough and comes up with a plan. He tells a brand new member named David Nguyen to DM Brandon White and to set up a deal. And from here, this is where the young member is told to send a message. August 8th, 2018.
That's crazy. This is crazy,
Brandon
y'all.
invites David Nguyen to meet him at his house on Rosemore Lane. So David pulls up with a metal bat tucked under his jacket. He walks in the house, shakes his hand, and they both sit down. Brandon has no idea that David Nguyen is a part of the Reckless Tigers, so his guard is down. After a few minutes of sitting down and discussing business, David Nguyen waits for the perfect time to pounce. As soon as Brandon looks away and gets distracted, David Nguyen pulls out the bat and jumps on top. David then runs out of the house, hops in his car, and speeds away. Brandon was injured very badly, to the point where he called 911 and was rushed to the hospital. Now listen to this. His bill came out to $76,000, and this is when he knew that he was not going to keep it in the streets. So he decided to cooperate and give up David Nguyen. Of course, at this point, Brandon White knew that the Reckless Tigers were behind this. And this right here made Peter Lee nervous that Brandon White could testify against them in court. He now made it his mission for police to never find out what the Reckless Tigers are. Little did he know he was already being investigated, and what he would do next would only make things worse. August 16th, 2018. Peter Lee drives to Rosemore Lane with a lighter, gas, and a bottle just like old times. He arrives to Brandon's house and tosses his concoction into the window. Thankfully, Brandon is alert and is able to put it out quickly. But regardless, this was a scary situation and the Reckless Tigers members expected him to now work with them. But Brandon would stand tall and still vow to testify on David Nguyen. This right here made the Tigers members nervous, so they decided to offer him an alternative route. Instead of threatening him, they decided to cancel his $8,000 debt and offer him $5,000 cash. Considering that his hospital bill was $76,000, Brandon was not going to accept this offer. So the members would come back and offer him $10,000 cash and to pay $8,000 towards his bill. This time, Brandon would leave them on red, giving them the indication that he's 100% going to testify.
Oh, he's
so
swagging on their
Tigers
ass.
would go back to square one.
Ooh.
The intimidation route. It's November 6, 2018, 12 days before the court date. A Tigers member messages Brandon and tells him that if my boy is convicted, I'll take a visit to your granny's house. It's either your family's safety or a free $18,000 in your pocket. Brandon White boldly leaves him on red, so 4 days later, 2 Tigers members pay a visit to his grandma's house, November 10th, 2018. The Tigers members arrive to his grandma's house with metal bats. They bang on the door expecting someone to open up, but instead his grandma dials 911 expecting them to come quickly. The police would be slow to come, but thankfully the Tigers members would give up on this mission after just 5 minutes. Was this enough to stop Brandon White from testifying? What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. November 19th,
this is
2018.
crazy,
It's
bro.
the big day at the Fairfax County Courthouse and everyone is there. David Nguyen, his family, and all of the Tigers members are nervous about what could happen. At 12:15 p.m., it's time for Brandon White to take the stand. He decides to tell the courts everything that happened and everything he knows about the Reckless Tigers. As a result, David Nguyen was sentenced to prison. All of the Reckless Tigers members are pissed, and many of them take to social media to expose Brandon White. This was a dumb decision because the feds were already all over their social media. Well, because Peter Lee was the top dog in Virginia, he decided to take revenge into his own hands. So during the next few months, he spent a lot of time coming up with an intricate plan. And here's what he came up with. First, he contacted 3 men who owed him money and offered to cancel their debt if they did some work for him. Then, he told the men to befriend Brandon White and to set up a deal with him on a particular date. Then, during the meeting, Reckless Tigers members would come out of nowhere and snatch up Brandon White. They would put him in the back of their car and drive him to a remote forest in Richmond, Virginia. This was a crazy plan, but Peter Lee was destined to make it work. So on January 29, 2019, the plan was finally complete. The 3 men set up a meeting with Brandon White on January 31st at 10 p.m. January 31st, 2019, 6 p.m. The 3 men are preparing to meet with Brandon White. In the meantime, Joseph, Sasha, and Young Yu are on their way to Peter's Dunloring apartment. When they arrive, Peter gives them a final rundown of all the steps. At 10:46 p.m., the 3 men arrive at Brandon White's house in a Mercedes C300. They pick up Brandon and tell him that they're taking him to the apartment where the deal will be made. Brandon has no idea that he's on his way to Peter Lee. However, while driving through Falls Church, the Mercedes breaks down. So the men get out of the car, and with Brandon's help, they push the car to the nearest gas station. The plan is already off to a terrible...
Bruh, all this... Bruh, it's so much going wrong, bruh. Bruh, you know what? Forget it, bruh. This ain't for me. This obviously ain't meant to work out, bruh. Bruh. It's like, if it ain't one thing, it's another with these folks, man. Hey, Shung Lee need to tighten up, bro. They over there BSing, bro, for real.
Start, but Peter is destined to get it done. So after the members inform him of the situation, he responds, "No worries, we're on our way." So at 11:24 p.m., the members hop in a blue Subaru and a white Honda CR-V and head on their way. At 11:41 p.m., they arrive at the gas station and pull in right next to the Mercedes. And that's when the 3 men signal that Brandon White is inside the gas station. At 11:44 p.m., he exits the gas station, and that's when the Tigers members hop out of their car. From there, they force him into the backseat of the Subaru and speed down I-95. They keep going all the way to the city of Richmond, Virginia.
That's crazy.
Once they arrive, they pull up to the entrance of a forest. They park and direct Brandon out of the car. They then direct him into the forest, hoping to reach the James River. But after 10 minutes of walking, the members get impatient, and that's when Joseph Lamborn makes his decision. The members then remove their jackets, gloves, and of course their tools. They throw it all into a garbage bag and bury it under the bushes. At 1:30 a.m., the members walk back to the car and have a quiet ride home to Northern Virginia. Each member is dropped off to their home, and here is where things get weird. None of the members speak to each other for 18 days. Instead, they sat back and pondered the crazy thing that they had just done. It definitely hit Joseph Lamborn the hardest, as he took a Greyhound bus to Dallas, Texas. The other members went home and kind of just stayed to themselves. And after weeks of thinking, Peter Lee began getting paranoid. So he called up his fellow members and told them that he didn't think they did a good enough job covering up their tracks. The members all agreed and decided to meet up in Richmond, Virginia on February 24th. So Joseph Lamborn takes a Greyhound all the way from Dallas, and all of the members drive down from Fairfax. They then meet up in the woods and try to carry everything down to the river. But after 30 minutes of looking for the James River, they simply give up and walk back to the car. After this moment, the Reckless Tigers truly went their separate ways. Firstly, Young Yu moved to Hayfork, California to oversee the farm. Secondly, Joseph Lamborn went back to Dallas. And lastly, Tony Lee remains permanently in Southern California, and Peter Lee was the last person to remain in Virginia. The members were riding it out into the sunset, figuring that they had gotten away with all of the crazy things they did. But
So Virginia, y'all.
This would not last long. By the summer of 2019, the FBI had completed their investigations. July 24th, 2019. Major raids take place all over the country, from Hayfork to Long Beach, Orange County, and of course Fairfax, Virginia. This included Peter Lee, Tony Lee, Sasha Carlisle, Young Yu, and Richard Pack. Oh yeah, and of course Joseph Lamborn, who was the main focus of the case. During the case, the prosecutors went hard, aiming for life sentences for everyone involved. That would be unless members were willing to give up information. Every member was offered to have their sentence cut if they were willing to testify on their fellow members. So let me run down the list. Joseph Lamborn Lamborn decided to stay solid despite facing the most amount of time. Peter Lee stayed solid despite facing more than a life sentence. Tony Lee also stayed solid despite facing over 20 years. After them, Young Yu and Sasha Carlisle both stayed solid as well. With all of these members staying solid, they actually had a good chance of beating many of the RICO charges. But then they offered a deal to the Reckless Tigers founder, Richard Pack. Richard couldn't take the heat and ended up becoming a federal informant. During the case, Richard gave the feds every single detail they needed to lock up all of the members. So if you're wondering why his name wasn't in any of the story, this is why. Once he became a federal informant, everything he did became concealed. Still though, after all this telling, Richard Pack received 16 years in federal prison. After him, Peter Lee was sentenced to 30 years. Then Tony Lee got 25, Young Yu got 20, and Sasha Carlisle got 16. And lastly, Joseph Lamborn, also known as Trigga, received 6 consecutive life sentences.
That's crazy.
Wow, this was a crazy story.
That's crazy.
Definitely unexpected out of such a good place. Like, who in the world would expect such a wild organization to come from Fairfax, Virginia? And let this be a reminder that this kind of lifestyle leads to nothing but destruction and pain at the end of the day.
That's crazy, bro. The nigga who got all y'all together is the one that ratted, man. And he still got 16. Like, 16 ain't light, bro. 16 ain't nothing. He about to just be like, I'm gonna take it to the chin. No, bro. 16 is, shawty, you gonna come home and a lot of things is gonna be different, bro. You hear me? Virginia, though, bro, like, I don't know. It was kind of a weird story to me. I don't know how to feel. Maybe it's because it's here, and I know what they talking about. I don't know though, bro, because I don't know, bro. Yeah, oh man, Virginia, man, they go from Cali to Virginia and just start baseball batting people and set people's houses on fire, bro. This sound like something that would happen in Virginia, though, bro. No cap, man. With that being said, man, I hope y'all enjoyed this video. It's Ty Fetty with the Fetty. Make sure y'all stay smart, stay dangerous, and I'm gonna catch y'all next time. I'm gone.